in 2 of the 4 matchups that are in play to be the main event of UFC 300, Khamzet Chimaev is involved from what Ariel Helwani's hearing behind the scenes. So Khamzet Chimaev is definitely in discussion to fight someone soon. He's in discussion to fight Dricus du Plessis at UFC 300. He's also in discussion to fight against Leon Edwards, allegedly. And that's the top choice. As Ariel Helwani just said, there's also choices of Dricus du Plessis versus Israel Adesanya. I personally believe that Dricus is not going to be involved in UFC 300. He just got done beating Strickland as a champion. He's not going to... And it was a 5-round scrap. If he would have flatlined Strickland in round 1 and took no damage, maybe then there'd be some kind of understanding on whether or not he could be at UFC 300. He got scrappy. Both guys took damage. There's no way he's going to be at UFC 300. He might end up being and save the day. That'd be good of him. I don't think it'd be wise for his career, though. And I feel like they're basically trying to have Dricus du Plessis lose to either Israel Adesanya or Khamzet Chimaev. But, as Ariel said, the main matchup that's front-running as of right now is Leon Edwards versus Khamzet Chimaev. This dude ain't making weight. If they really think they can pull this off. Oh, Khamzet Chimaev, by the way, we're trusting you to make weight at welterweight, where you couldn't make weight before at welterweight. So a part of me doesn't believe this information, but maybe this is just how desperate the UFC's getting. Because I didn't even think this was in the mix. I thought, oh, please, first of all, don't let it be Leon Edwards, Belal Muhammad. You know what it sounds like to me? It sounds like the UFC is trying their very, very best to prevent the main event being Edwards versus Muhammad, but it's the only one they've got a guarantee for. Is it sounding like that to anyone else? I'm terrified of this. I am terrified. With the idea of, it could be du Plessis Adesanya, it could be du Plessis Chimaev, it could even be Edwards Chimaev, or it could be Belal versus Edwards too. It sounds like that's the only one they've got a guarantee on, and it's their last resort. And they know that that would absolutely destroy the UFC 300 pay-per-view by ruining the main event slot and meaning that no one would buy it. And then they just don't want that to happen. But it sounds like that's the only one that they can make happen if they can't make some kind of other goofy fight make sense. Now, is this matchup funny because it means Belal Muhammad might not get a title shot next? They might have to fight Shavkat Rakhmonov. Yes, that's quite funny. But Leon Edwards versus Khamzet Chimaev. This would be an insane matchup. One, I don't trust Khamzet Chimaev to make 170 if he is going to go back down. He arguably is more deserving of a title shot at 170 than he is at 185, because at the end of the day, he still beat Usman. Even though it was at 185 on short notice, it's still the number 1 welterweight in the world at the time, Kamaru Usman. So there is an argument for it that I could see them trying to get across to us. Does Belal deserve it more at 170 as of right now? 100%. But I like this matchup. I think, honestly, though, if anyone gets outside the first round with Khamzet Chimaev, he's in trouble, especially if he's draining himself back down to welterweight on not ideal circumstances after recently bulking himself up to be a 185er. Ramadan may help him shift that weight off. Maybe that would be a strategic move, and maybe why this is even being discussed at 170. But I think that's an advantage for Leon Edwards. He's going to have a better training camp. He's not going to have to limit what time he can take liquids and foods over a certain time. I know there's that sort of thing in Ramadan. So that's an interesting thing. I just think this is out of nowhere. This is out of nowhere. Can Ariel stop announcing things, by the way? Because I feel like the UFC, even if they did have this a done deal, would be like, fuck Ariel. We'll put Edwards, Belal Muhammad too. So please, Ariel, for MMA fans, shut up from now on. But thank you for this content, because this is great. But this would be the savior of that main event. Edwards versus Chimaev would be UFC 300 main event worthy. The only other thing they could do, and I have no idea why they can't pull this off, is McGregor Chandler. They both want to fight. They're both pushing for UFC 300. I know McGregor's probably asking for more for it to be at UFC 300 because he knows the UFC's in a desperate time of need. But surely, You've got a couple extra million laying around somewhere where you could pay McGregor that extra amount to main event this card. I actually don't mind Edwards versus Chimaev, though.